Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Susan Lynn. I'm a psychic and a medium. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, I'm going to be answering your political questions. Now, what happens is I put on my community page, please send me your political questions. And you do. So thank you so much. I'm channeling these messages. It's 40% Susan, 60% spirit guides. You guys know the drill if you're regular watchers. And of course, the part that's wrong is going to be the 40% Susan because usually when we're thinking about trying to figure this stuff out, it's not quite as accurate as when you go to your spirit guides and they tell you what's likely to happen. Now, the other thing that can happen is free will. Everybody has free will. We can read the energy, and that's the best that we can do. Okay, let's get started. Peg MC says, will the Supreme Court decline to hear Trump's immunity case if he files and let the ruling stand that he has no immunity? But Kalman Law NYC says, is issue of no immunity resolved, and will Judge Chutkan be able to move forward with the trial? I think these two questions are very interesting because the first question, the answer is, I don't see Trump getting immunity. I do not see Trump getting immunity. But the second question says, is the issue of no immunity resolved? And will Judge Chutkan be able to go forward with the trial? That's where the guides are like, what? You see, what happened was. So there we have, I put those questions next to each other because it means that yes, I do not think he's going to have, immunity. That's just crazy. Look, the spirit guides told you guys a while back, months ago, that Colorado thing was not going to go our way. It was going to go Trump's way. And they gave you all the reasons that even Justice Kagan used. Okay, so they were right about that, but that's not the point. The point is that this stuff is complicated and it doesn't always go the way we think we want it to go. But this is our lesson. And all these questions that I'm going to read today, this is our lesson. Our lesson is to understand things are not what they seem. People are not who they seem. Perhaps it would be a good idea for us to look at the political realm and maybe learn from that and apply what we learned from that in our personal lives. What can you learn from how these Republicans are acting? And take that and apply it to your personal life, because there's lessons here. We're not just here for no reason. We're here because we chose to incarnate here at this time. So I think it would be a good idea for us to try to really look all the way around these subjects. Okay, so now this is why they want to talk about it, because no, he's not going to get immunity. But yet when Kalman Law asked, well, now we got a little bit of a problem, because the question is, will it be resolved? So what I see is, what they're showing me is that guy, and I want to say something more human, like jerk or something worse, but I'm going to try to just say guy, the special prosecutor who decided it was on his duty to write some snide comment about Biden's mental state, even though it had nothing to do with the report that he was writing. So why does that make any sense with what we're talking about right now? Because it's the same thing. The Republicans are going to use every tiny, infinitesimal is what the guides want to say, possibility, prospect, tool that they can. It's like a death by 1,000 cuts. Okay, so they're gonna lose. Trump is not going to be immune. That I believe 100%. But what else can they do with that case? How else can they stall it? If the Supreme Court refuses to hear it, can they then tie it up in some other court? That's where Kalman's question pulled me up short, because resolved, I'm not sure it's going to be as resolved as quickly as we think it is. So again, the spirit guides are saying the Republicans are going to use every little thing they can. If they can stall something by a day, that's a win. That gives them 24 more hours to work on the court of public opinion, 24 more hours to buy somebody off, to pay somebody off, to do something. You're still in the game. As long as you're still in the game, act like you're still in the game, right? So it's really imperative for them to have every delay, no matter how small, every little dig, no matter how small, every little thing they can do is on the plus column. Okay. So I feel like Calvin Law NYC is onto something here. I feel like this could be another delay. I feel like that's why Judge Chutkan said, I'm just going to take this off my docket. And when it comes back, it comes back. Right. I think there was a little bit of a sense of, if I felt like from her, there was a little sense of defeatedness, right? Defeatism. Like, I don't think I'm going to get a chance to preside over this case. Now, I think she will. The guides are telling me she will. She will be brought back to center stage. She will be center stage. But there could be some, what I call, they will almost have me say what Susan calls Mickey Mouse, which means, like just stupid stuff where somebody's delaying. I call it Mickey Mousing, just not being serious. But again, that's why they said any delay is a good delay, no matter how small. So yes, I think she's going to eventually rule on that case. I do think that case is going to move faster than we think it is, and certainly faster than the Republicans think it is, but they are going to go for another delay. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Thank you for your questions. Michael Smith says, will the Democrat in New York win the special election for George Santos' former seat? I feel like yes, but I got to tell you guys that whenever I read on this, it's not that, it's again, back to the question above, it's just not that cut and dry. I wish it were, but there's something going on with this energy. Either this Democrat is not who we think they are, and they could become, a cinema, or, they could turn coat. The words I just heard was turn coat. There's some energy around somebody not being who they are. Now, maybe it's not the Democrat. Maybe it's something to do with the actual voting. Maybe the voting gets delayed or gets challenged. There's something with the energy that doesn't make this a slam dunk. And I'm telling you guys, if it is a slam dunk and you're like, well, Susan was wrong, that was a slam dunk, I'm telling you right now, keep your ticket. Don't throw away your receipt, because you might need a refund. Something is wrong with this race. Is it going to be I was just going to say, is it going to be a problem? And the guides were like, well, of course it's going to be a problem. You just said. Anyway, it's a problem, guys. I don't know what the problem is. I can't figure it out. There's something wrong with this race. I cannot figure it out. Somebody is not who they say they are, or somebody is being paid off. Somebody is, and it might not be, that's why we just said, keep your ticket. You might need a refund, because it might not be evident. These things are not evident. We've had a few Democrats flip a year later or years later. It's just as important. I don't want to cast aspersions on this Democrat. I don't know why I'm saying all this. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's somebody else. But I would just say to you, what they were just saying is, it's just important to own a Democrat as it is a Republican. It's just as important to own that person who's voting. Now, maybe this Democrat doesn't know they're owned. Maybe they're completely have a beautiful heart, and they're 100% honest. They're 100% true. But maybe they've done a little something. They got their freak on somewhere, and somebody's got some photos, and they're about to be owned. There's some energy like that around this race. I don't know how it's going to manifest. It's not Santos. I'm not seeing Santos. Santos was wide open with his, everybody knew. How many identities did he have? Everybody knew who George Santos was. There was no secret there. There seems to be some sort of shell game, or what did they just say? Flip some kind of, they said something. I interpreted it as a shell game. You know, where is the real shell at? I don't know why, guys. But I will say this. So I think, right. So they're reminding me, this is for the special seat. This is for the special runoff for Santos. And then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's a race, a regular race in November. So something could happen between this goalpost and that goalpost, or this finish line and that finish line. Okay. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. I do think that that district is going to eventually, it's almost like the sailboat. When the sailboat goes over to the side, there's been a problem and the sailboat's on its side and they just kind of get it back up again. So I feel like that district, the sailboat's over to its side. And I feel like eventually they're going to right it and they're going to take off and it's going to be fine, but it's not over yet. That's what I would say. It's not over yet. Okay, we have another question from a user who has no name. And we're going to say that your question is, will there ever be more money allocated for education to keep good teachers interested in teaching? And will politics be removed enough to make teachers want to stay? Yes. Yes, the answer is yes. However, will there ever be? You know, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, because it's like, we're not going to say this year because we know it's not going to be this year. The spirit guides finally convinced me that this whole voucher thing was going to get a foothold last year, and I had to just accept it. Now, in Texas, the vouchers are being fought for a very interesting reason. And I'm telling you this because I think this is going to have repercussions, the spirit guides are saying, around the country. In Texas, our governor wants the vouchers. However, it hasn't been passing, and he even threatened the state Congress to hold them over and make them come back for special session after special session because he wanted it so bad. Talk about a bully pulpit, right? You're not voting the way I want you to, so I'm going to make you come back. So the reason they weren't being passed, well, because the Democrats didn't want it. But guess what? A lot of these Republicans didn't want it. And when I found out why, I was kind of shocked and I was disgusted. But then I thought, well, strange bedfellows. You know, in this situation, we're all strange bedfellows. The reason why is because, quote unquote, right out of the mouth of one of these Republicans who was a state senator, was that I'm not voting so that poor people and anybody, and you could pretty much read in there, right, that minorities, you can pretty much read in anybody who's not white. I'm not going to be giving them voucher money. I'm not going to level the playing field so that anybody can come to our private schools. Because if we give voucher money to anybody, they can take that money and apply it to a private school in Texas. So no, the answer is no, we're not going to allow that. So that's why I think it's going to have repercussions around the country. They're going to realize, no, we really want our private schools to be private. Thank you. There's a reason why we put our kids in that private school. Now, so once we run through the experiment, the spirit guides are saying, this is what they're calling an experiment. I mean, I guess it is, because we're going to try it out and we're going to find out it doesn't work. In Houston, again, I'm in Houston, but Houston had literally a takeover of their school district by the state. And the state has introduced this, what the local paper called a militaristic type of governing of the school. They took the libraries and made them detention centers. Now, if you don't think shite's going down in Houston, you know, right? You guys, this isn't going to fly. This is the same, this is the same reason why none of it's going to fly, why healthcare isn't going to fly. What happened is the Republicans want all of this privatized because they want the money. They see all that money going to the federal government and they want it. They want to privatize NASA. They want to privatize our military so that, contractors go to war zones and serve food and clean. They want to privatize our schools so that companies can bid on that nice big contract and then provide the teaching. They want to privatize medical care because they want all that money from the insurance agencies. Okay, this is where we are. We know the reason why they want to do it. They want the money. But the bottom line is it doesn't work. The numbers don't work. I feel like I'm talking to somebody and saying, your business plan sucks. It's not going to work because there's unhealthy people in your insurance plan. You can't afford to insure them. There's people living on the coast in your insurance. You can't afford to insure them. You don't want to. It doesn't make sense. Dollars and cents. It doesn't make sense to privatize schools because in the end, you've got to teach kids that are disadvantaged that don't know how to read in the 3rd grade. And by your own estimation, you decided that everybody has to pass a test by a certain grade. You're not going to do it. Even if you militarize the schools, even if you take the personnel that were in charge of feeding and taking and making sure homeless students got to school and got clothes and got food, you take those, this is what they're doing in Houston, take those people and now make them truant officers who instead go knock on your door and drag your kid to school. Why? Because every kid that's in school is $1 from the federal government. Dollars and cents. It's a business. Now it's a business. Okay. All right. Let's roll up our sleeves. This is a business. Let's make it a business. I'm a businesswoman. Let's make it a business. Don't work. It doesn't work because that's why we have a government. The government takes care of things that don't make business sense. Because we're human and we want to have health care. Because we're human and we want to have our students be educated. Because we're human and we believe in music and the arts in our schools. Because we're human and we don't want people to be homeless because their house got burned down in a forest fire or flooded by a flood. Turns out we're human. And this is the age of Aquarius, you guys. And humans are getting pretty fed up with the greed of corporations and the mismanagement of Republican governments. We just came out of the age of Capricorn, which was all about, corporations, top-down sort of management. Well, we're going into bottom-up management, pitchforks in the streets. So yeah, short answer is yes. We're going to fix this because the businesses are going to bow out. They're going to bow out. They're going to be like, I don't want this. They're already doing it. They're already doing it. Down here on the coast, you can't get insurance. You can't get flood insurance. Guess who you get flood insurance from? The government. Not from the private sectors, from the government. The government makes them give us windstorm insurance. So guess what? It doesn't make dollars and cents. What I see happening is but it has to fail. Now, we'll tell you that. The bad news here is that it has to fail. It has to fail miserably so that the companies say, God, that was the dumbest thing I ever did. Instead, I'm going to cherry pick. They're going to cherry pick. I want the top money. I want those people that can afford those Cadillac health insurance policies. That's who I want. The government can insure these people down here that got diabetes. These people down here that's been smoking. These people down here that have been eating all our terrible foods that we sell them. The government can take care of that. The government can take care of all those people on the coast. The government can take care of all those people who can't afford the Cadillac homeowners insurance. So what I see is, after it fails, what I see is the Democrats, and this could happen pretty soon. I mean, I think this is going to start happening, maybe not in Texas, but definitely in other states where Biden says, and I definitely think this is Biden, so I think this is going to happen pretty soon. Biden says, teach for America. We're going to revamp all of these programs where if you want to have your college debt forgiven, teach in this low income city, whatever, for 5 years, and you get all your debt reduced. Yeah, it's going to be a win-win. You know, they already do this with medical students. I don't know if you guys know this, but if you, and then this is a Democratic policy, I think it was established during Obama, but I'm not sure. If you're a medical student and you're racking up the debt, well, if you'll agree to go to a not so well served city or neighborhood or whatever place and become a doctor for X number of time, either all or some of your debt can be forgiven. So yeah, there's ways to make this work, right? You do this for us, we'll do this for you. So yes, I do think all this is going to happen. And I feel like it's going to we're going to catch a wave. So I feel like this is happening really soon. And I think we're going to catch a wave in 26 is what they just said. But, you know, Biden is going to win this election. We're going to have a Democratic Congress and Senate. I don't know if it's going to be a supermajority. I'm praying and hoping that it is, because we don't need any more, you know, we just don't need that. We can't get anything done, and we've got to get some things done. So I feel like the Democrats are going to get things done, which leads me to believe we're going to have majority, maybe not a super majority, but that's how we're going to get there. They're going to pay them more. They're going to incentivize. And you know what, too? We're going to work with the kids, because after the pandemic, the kids need something different than they were getting. They've changed. The kids have changed. Let's just admit it. We're not going to be able to put this now round circle in a square hole. We're just not going to be able to do that. We're going to be able to have to figure out a new way of teaching, a new way of getting to these kids. So I feel like with this Aquarius, with all these changes, these energetic changes, we're going to have new teaching modalities. We're just, this thing where they want to make everything militaristic is not going to work. It's just not going to work. And they're going to lose a lot of money. And then they're going to flee. And then the government's going to come in and pick up the pieces, which is what happens time and time again with these Republican policies. Okay, I'm going to move on off of my soapbox. And I'm going to move to Doug Noble, who says, has Cannon finally given Jack Smith, you mean Judge Cannon, finally given Jack Smith what he needs to get her off the case? And will he be successful? And Susan B. Sostis says, will Judge Cannon be replaced in the Florida documents trial? So 2 questions about Judge Cannon. First of all, your first question, Doug, is that what the guides are saying is Jack is building a case against her. That's really important. I need you to really hear that. He's building a case against her. Every time he has to go back to her and say, you've ruled, like, for instance, with the docs, where he just said Trump could have all the docs or whatever, the top secret documents. Yeah, they can have them all. It doesn't matter. Maybe we don't need a SCIF. Maybe we don't need anything like that. What happens is Jack Smith writes, an opinion back to the judge and says, this is the case law. This is the history. These are the precedents. Now, from our perspective, that might look like she's ignoring him. It might look like she's batting him aside. But no, what's really happening is that he's building a case against her. So every time she does something willful and what they're calling is negligent, willfully negligent, it gives him an opportunity to prove that she's willfully negligent. What they're saying is she cannot just be summarily removed because of one case. There has to be an entire case against her. So yes, this is egregious. Yes, this is horrible and terrible, but it's another step. She's building the case against her own self for, yes, Susan, her removal. I've always seen her removed. The guides have always said she's going to be removed. We have to play the game. And I know there's a question in here about, and I'll just go ahead and, since I think I've answered that question, the next question is, Firefly says, is Biden going to keep Merrick Garland on as AG? If so, for how long? This guy has been dragging his feet the whole time. He approved the Robert Hur report, which was obviously a political hit job against Biden. I agree. And Pat Lee says, what on earth was Merrick Garland thinking when he allowed the report that was scathing, cruel, mean about Biden to be released? Is Garland compromised? Is his mind failing? I got to admit, I lost a ton of respect for him on this decision. Right. So you guys, what did the guide say to you earlier? Pay attention to what's happening, right? It's, if you look at all of the things that Garland has done, if you just look at it with a neutral eye, you see somebody who's afraid to make a mistake. You see somebody who's afraid to be judged. You see somebody who's afraid to step outside of any sort of line. Someone who literally has blinders on. He's done it time and again. He's erred on the side of caution. And this job at this time in our democratic history, in the history of our country, his job really required somebody who would say, maybe to side on the error, on the side of caution is an important thing to do here. But I really need to step outside of this line because Trump et al. Is stepping outside of the line. You know, when the Republicans are basically stomping on the line, ripping it up and putting it in a paper shredder in the fireplace and in the toilet and trying to flush it, Democrats are being invited to step outside of the line as well. Now, you see this with Biden. You see this with the Democrats. You see it. They're afraid. They're afraid to get in the mud with the Republicans. They're afraid to get outside of that line. That's Merrick Garland. He's afraid to get outside of the line. So when her, first of all, when he appointed her, he knew who he appointed. And he did it for a reason. He did it to appear nonpartisan. That's Biden and Obama appointing Republican AGs to appear nonpartisan, to always appear to be completely neutral, to always appear to be beyond ethical, so ethical, nobody could ever question your ethics. Honey, they questioning Biden's ethics and everybody else's ethics 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So maybe it's time to realize, what do you care more about? If you look unethical or if you are unethical? Because that's the distinction that's got Garland in a bind. He doesn't want to look unethical. It's not unethical to do these things, but he doesn't want to look unethical. It's the optics. He doesn't want it to look like that. So now the problem, he didn't like excise that or stamp rejected on the report or stamp failed or whatever, is because why? He would look like he's covering for Biden. Come on, you guys. Come on. Of course he would look like that. Everybody would say, oh, Biden's covering. Here it is right here. This special prosecutor said that Biden is not sharp. And Garland took it out. It would be the biggest nightmare. It would be all over the news. It would be a bigger story than the fact that it's in there. Do you understand the rules of engagement now? Do you understand how crazy this game is? Again, there were lines and the Republicans have peeled them up. There's no lines anymore, and the Democrats are acting like not only are there lines, but their lines are this big. They have to tread on a tightrope because of how it looks. So that's what happened. Garland was not the right person for this job. But when Biden appointed Garland, or when Garland took this job, we didn't know all this. You know what I mean? We didn't know what we know now. And even if we did know what we know now, I'm pretty sure that Biden would have put some freaking Republican in there again to make it look like he's not partisan. So we might as well take the gloves off and just get busy. I've said this before. You guys have given me some pushback on this. We don't want to be as low as them. We don't want to get in the mud. At some point, when democracy is under the mud, we're going to have to get in the mud to find her, to pull her out and hose her off. That's just where we're going. Okay. That's just where we're going. So that's Garland. Now, is he going to stay? No, he's not going to stay, but I don't think, again, Biden is going to get rid of him because why? Repeat it. I just told you. The optics, it's going to look bad. Oh, yeah, Biden got rid of Garland after Garland had a special prosecutor who said that Biden was not very sharp. Biden is in a you're effed if you do, you're effed if you don't. You're effed if you don't even think about it. You're effed if you do think about it. There's a no-win situation. So at some point, he's going to be pushed out of his comfort zone. And he's just going to say, I don't care what you think. I don't care. I'm going to do what I need to do right now. And I'll prove to you that it's the right thing. But I don't care. Report what you want. Say what you want. Don't care. His give a damn has got to get broken. The Democrats' give a damn has got to get broken. You know, that's when you finally stand in your truth, is when you're tired of being gaslit, when you're tired of being lied to, when you're in that relationship and you're just so tired of being gaslit, and you finally say, I don't care anymore. F all the way off. Go say the lies you want to say about me. Don't care anymore. That's where we're going. So I think he'll leave, but I think it'll be sadly, probably after the election, probably in January. I see in January, and it's a normal thing that presidents do, and I'm sure everybody will be a hue and cry over it because they'll make a story about nothing. So it doesn't, if they're making a story about nothing, you might as well give them something, you know. But I think in January of 25, Biden will release Garland, and and I think there'll be a lot of changes in his cabinet because that's what presidents do typically. Okay. So yeah, I don't see Garland there for long. I think Garland wants out. Garland wants out. He didn't want to be this person. This is not black and white to him. It's not black and white to him. It's too obfuscated. It's too cloudy. It's too many shades of gray. He does okay when it's clearly black and white. He's a prosecutor, black and white. Did they do it? Did they not do it? Black and white. This is politics. Politics is not black and white. He wants out. So he may leave before, he may step down. He may step down this fall, which would, you know, not be a favor for Biden in some ways, right? It could be a problem. I mean, again, Biden's just going to have to ride this roller coaster. He's on it. He bought the ticket. He's our man. I believe he's our man. And he's going to ride it. He's going to do the best he can. So if Garland decides to leave, he'll just deal with it. That I have every faith and confidence that Biden is going to deal with this stuff. It's just that you're going to see him start taking the gloves off. Now, I do want to say this because the guides told me this yesterday, and I did a whole video called Biden is Angry. I mean, you can Google it and see it on I did it months ago because they predict this stuff months in advance. But I do want to say what I think is going to happen in the near term meaning between now and September or April and September, is that I see that Biden is going to have a proxy. So what do I mean by that? So in some ways, the Republican Party paid for Christie to be a proxy to beat up Trump, right? So those United States donors versus those foreign donors, there's a difference. The United States donors, in my opinion, what the guides have told me, have been betting on Nikki Haley. And the foreign donors are betting on Trump. So the United States donors used Christie as a proxy, meaning Christie got in there and just, gave 45 all kind of hell, right? Constantly tearing him down, tearing him down, tearing him down. That's a proxy. We know he's not going to win, but he's there to deliver as many body blows as possible. And for that, I hope he got paid handsomely. Now, this is what you're going to see Biden bring on. Now, in some ways, the California governor Newsom has been a proxy for Biden. He even debated one of the presidential runner. It was a DeSantis, one of the presidential front runners. That's crazy that Newsom, who's not running for office, would debate a Republican who is running for the presidency. That's a proxy. You got somebody out there taking the blows for you, but also giving the blows. And it doesn't matter for them because they're not running. So Newsom has been a good proxy. He's been a stand-in for Biden. Biden doesn't need to take these pot shots. He doesn't need to, but he can get somebody else to do it. So I see a new person coming on. It's not Obama. It's not Mayor Pete. It's not anybody like that. It feels like it could be a senator. It could be somebody. It could be a rep or a senator. It could be Newsom to a degree, but this person's even spikier than Newsom. Newsom is a pretty good debater, but this person is a ferocious debater. This person, it reminds me of how, if you ever saw a clip of Pete Buttigieg going on Fox News, they finally stopped having him on so much because he could just go on Fox News and dismantle them. It was beautiful to behold. He could hold his own and just so quick. It's like Muhammad Ali, like you didn't even know where the punches were coming from. And all of a sudden you got a black eye. That was Pete Buttigieg. So I feel like they're going to have a proxy, and it might be Pete, who's going to go out there and just the words they just said to me was lay waste to the media, because the media has been irresponsible. Personally, I was going to use the word asshole. They used the word irresponsible. I said asshole. They said irresponsible. I'm like, all right, we'll use both our words. Anyway, they've been irresponsible. So we need somebody to get out there and say, you guys are wrong. You guys are saying Biden's not sharp. How about these 26 times or 100 times that Trump said something? We need somebody out there that's the Biden proxy. Somebody's out there that's got Biden's back, that's in the war. The general doesn't go to the war. Biden is our general. You send your lieutenants, you send your army out there. That's what Biden's about to do. Because I'm telling you, he was mad when I did that video months ago. He's a whole different form of mad now. Really and truly, that report that guy Hurd did mentioned his son, Bo. That's it. It's over. He's like a 4 Scorpio. Like Biden's got Scorpio, I think, in 4 houses or something like that. I mean, you signed your own death certificate, your own energetic, lay waste to certificate. So I'm going to just do one more question here. And 2 more, because your a follow-up question is, Snickers says, will Garland have consequences for his role in letting that report out? He won't, because they're separated. Garland hires the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor is supposed to operate independently of anybody. That's the whole point of having an independent special prosecutor. So I think we're all confused about what can happen here and also what can happen in the court of public opinion. So no, he's not going to have any consequences. Now, is Biden going to be unhappy with Garland? Yes. Is Garland going to lose his place in history that he could have had? Yes. Yes. Is Garland going to look like, a Benedict Arnold? Perhaps. Is Garland going to look like an ineffectual AG in a time when our democracy was at stake? Yes. Garland has his own ghost, his own demons coming for him. Believe me, there's nothing that Biden could do to that man that would be any worse than his own knowledge of how he could have stood in the breach and saved democracy. And he decided to be a chicken shit. Okay. The guides are like, them's fighting words. I'm kind of mad about it. Okay, I'm going to move on. Last question is MSVO89. And this is a charged question too. When will Netanyahu be removed from his current position? Yeah, I like the way you're using the term, when will he be removed? Which is, you're basically stating, I know he's going to be removed, and when. Yeah, he's going to be removed. He's absolutely the wrong person, obviously, for the job there. It's quite interesting how these players, the guides want to say this. You have Roger Stone, who was active during the Nixon campaign, and then he pops back up, during Trump's campaign, Trump's presidency. And Netanyahu, he was a guy that was in a place of leadership before as well. And then he went on hiatus, disappeared, and then came back. It's almost like it's their karma. It's like the guides are saying, it's like a moth to a flame. The flame is going to burn you, but you can't help it. You can't help yourself. So that's also Roger Stone going to get burned. Netanyahu is going to get burned. When will he be removed? When is a tough thing for psychics and energy and spirit guides. First of all, they freaking incarnated here 500 years ago. They don't even know what time is anymore. They haven't had a watch in 500 years, and watches weren't even invented. They were using a sundial. So don't ask them because they don't understand time. I had to learn that the hard way. But I think that there seems to be some energy around May. There's energy around March, but it might come to a head or fruition or pop in May, June. It could be health. It could be, see, this is the other thing that we all need to understand is if you're not supposed to be doing what you're doing, you're outside of your soul path. You've gone rogue. If the law can't catch you, your health will catch you. If the law and the health doesn't catch you, perhaps another person with intent to stop you will catch you. Are you guys catching my drift here? He's going by hook or crook is what I would say. So I think that he will be out of the hair of Israelis and Palestinians by June. But I will say that timing is very difficult, and it depends. It depends on so many things. It actually depends on if Putin is still in power. It depends on Biden's energy. It depends on Qatar. It depends on Saudi Arabia. It depends on Egypt, on Jordan. It depends on the Palestinians, the Israelis. Everybody gets a say in this. But I will say this. When this war, this fracas broke out, what my spirit guides told me, and they told me in a way that when they say things in a certain way with a certain energy, I pretty much know it's like a 98%. So, I mean, how much more sure can you get? I don't know. I feel like, right, they're saying, so right now, Israel wants to take away another settlement, right? Netanyahu wants to remove Palestinians from all of that land. That's what he wants to do. So what I see happening is a two-state solution. Now, I don't know all the history, but I see a two-state solution because there's no other solution. It's not going to happen. It's not going to work that you have a Palestinian enclave or settlement or city or whatever you want to call it in the middle, surrounded by Israel. It's not going to work. So what I see is they bifurcate that country. They bifurcate that land. And what I see, and maybe I'm wrong, but I see a two-state solution, and how they've shown it to me so far is Israel gets the southern half and Palestine gets the northern half. And it's cut in middle, down the middle. That only gives one border between Palestine and Israel. And that border can be governed like a DMZ, a demilitarized zone. It could be a no-fly zone. The United Nations can be there. It's, in other words, what am I saying? It's safe. The Palestinians can feel safe. Israelis can feel safe. And this is what this is all about, is everybody feeling safe. There's only one border between these countries, and it's mightily protected. That's what I see happening. When we get there, I don't know. It could be 2 years, 3 years. If we're lucky, it could be 18 months. If Netanyahu and Putin and Trump, all three decide to check out this year, check out of the Hotel Earth, a lot of good things can happen pretty quickly, right? Or maybe they leave in some other way and they become diminished. Their energy, their power's diminished. Whatever it is, Netanyahu's gone. I know I did a reading about him at some point way before this, like when he was running. I did a reading, and I think the guides pretty much told you this was going to happen, basically. But at that time, I also saw Netanyahu not being a leader for long. For one thing, you guys, he doesn't even have really and truly the support of the Israelis. And the support in the United States is waning. And the last thing I'll say, because this is so important, and it's going to come into fruition, is that the United States citizens, and perhaps really and truly, I feel like worldwide humans are going to become a little bit more protectionist, meaning they don't want to spend money on other countries. I mean, I know, look, this is the Democrat playbook. This is the progressive playbook. And I also understand that if you don't have NATO, if you don't protect countries like Ukraine, all of a sudden somebody like Putin is marching through Poland. Hello, we have a history. We understand. We understand that. That's why the spirit guides say we're going to enforce and enlarge NATO. We're going to enforce and enlarge that military to a huge degree. Some of our defense budget is going to go to NATO. Now, won't that make the Republicans literally kick over? I mean, really, maybe we should speed this whole process up. But I'm telling you, the energy of Americans is we're tired. We want that money to come back here. And we also mean from you, Mrs. and Mr. CEO. We're tired of you price gouging us. We want that money back here. We're tired of this huge defense budget. We want that money back here. We're tired of supporting all these countries. We want that money back here. This is Democrats and Republicans. Democrats and Republicans, you guys. That's a sea change. That's coming together against a common enemy or a common foe. Who is the foe? The people with the power, the people with the money. That's big changes. That's big changes for this country. Just imagine all of us coming together and saying, You know what? I thought you were the problem. You know what? I thought you were the problem. Well, you didn't do this? No. Did you do this? No. Well, who did it? They did it. They did it. Once that happens, oh my God. And then the humans are like pitchforks in the streets. You guys, that's what we're going to be going through, is like the 1960s again, when more humans got in the streets than, the leaders could handle. They couldn't quell it. They couldn't stop it. They had to sit down and negotiate with it. This is where we're going. And that gives me hope. And I really do hope to be in the streets with Trumpers against the real problem. Against the real problem, not against each other. We're not the problem. We've both been sold a bill of goods. Right? So big change is coming, guys. Big change is coming. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. If you've watched this long and you're not a subscriber, you might as well just give it up. You're addicted to this channel. Go ahead and subscribe. It's okay. I'm a gateway drug, the guides told me. I'm a gateway drug to the metaphysics and psychics and crystals and all the stuff that's going to get you woke up, activated, and ascended. So it's a good thing. Take really good care, you guys. We'll talk real soon. And I will have part 2 because there's many more good questions in here. Like Trump saying that he would encourage Russia to do whatever they want to NATO. Many good questions in here. I'm going to do a part 2. Stay tuned. It'll be on my channel. If you subscribe and hit the bell notification, the little bell icon, you'll actually get notified when I have a video. All right. We'll see you real soon. Take good care. For entertainment purposes only.